this is Robin from SeniorSafetyAdvice.com, and I'm here to talk about electric blankets. Since the weather's gotten colder, I know everybody's dragging them out. If you have them, they've been packed away for a while. There's some safety tips for seniors, well, for everybody, but specifically for seniors. And the big question is, should seniors even be using an electric blanket? Are they safe for seniors? You'll be surprised to find out the answer. The first thing I want to talk about is electric blanket safety. When you store it away, you have to be very careful not to crimp the wires. You can see how this one, how big I folded this. This may even be folded a little too small for what you really should do to keep from crimping the wires. But when you're storing it away for at the end of the season, you don't want to bend them. If you crimp the wires, you break the insulation. When you plug the blanket in, that's where you get some of those hot spots sometimes, and the blanket actually can catch on fire. The Electrical Safety Foundation International has reported that there are at least 500 electric blanket fires in a year. Most of them are related to blankets that are 10 years old or older, so that's a safety tip for you too. If your blanket is more than 10 years old, you really should get rid of it. My father used an electric blanket. I read this information and I went to his place and checked on it, and I was appalled because I'm telling you that the electric blanket was probably as old as I was. Really old plugs and all of that. We got rid of it. The other time you should get rid of a blanket is when you pull it out after storage. You need to inspect the wires. You need to open it up and be sure you don't see a wire poking out or a hole. You want to be sure it's not threadbare. You want to look at the connection and be sure it's okay. You want to even go through all of the wires that go to the blanket and be sure that none of them show any signs of wear or have any frayed areas or obvious burn areas. If that is what you find, then you really need to discard that blanket as well, just like I did for my dad. So anyway, electric blankets are not safe for seniors who have cognitive issues like Alzheimer's or dementia. The reason for this is because a lot of times they don't understand body temperature changes. They don't realize they're too hot. So it could cause overheating and they could become burned. Also, somebody who's incontinent, a senior who's incontinent, should not use an electric blanket. They are very difficult to wash. You don't want to dry clean them. You don't want to clean them with any type of like a lighter fluid or anything like that. If you do put them into a machine, you can't put them on the spin cycle because the spin cycle is going to crimp those wires, and again, you could have problems with burns because of the insulation coming off. So don't use it for a senior who is incontinent. Other things that are a concern for seniors using an electric blanket would be if they have a physical condition, Parkinson's, neuropathy, some types of mobility issues where they wouldn't maybe be able to get out from under the blanket, or if they were partially paralyzed. All of those things can cause either temperature changes, sensations, temperature sensation changes, I'm sorry, so that you're just not aware that you're overheated, or they can cause an issue where if the senior needed to get out from under the blanket, they may not be able to. It's also not good to use an electric blanket for a senior who's in a hospital bed, because as you adjust that bed, sometimes the wires can get crimped in that fold of the bed, and then you'll have the same problem with broken wires again. Let's see, pacemakers. That's always something that you read about, I've read about before, whether a senior with a pacemaker can use one, or even like an implanted insulin pump. You can use one according to the Mayo Clinic and also according to the American Heart Association. Technically, they're not the type of, they don't interrupt the pacemaker or the pump, but you still may want to run that by your physician or your parent's physician just to be sure that everything is okay. But in general, they say that those two organizations say that it is okay. Safety tips for the blanket: you don't want to sit on the blanket. So even if it's spread out on the bed, you don't want to sit down on the wires because, again, you can crimp them. You don't want to have a pet up on the blanket because they don't realize that we have cats, and, you know, cats are always sharpening their claws, or a dog has a sharp claw. If he jumps up, he may or she may end up puncturing the blanket, so you don't want to do that. You don't ever want to dry clean it. I think I mentioned that before. If it is wet for some reason, going back to incontinence, whatever, you don't want to plug the blanket in and turn it on in order to dry out the blanket. That is a huge no-no. Think about electricity and water. Not good. Let me think. I'm reading my list. Sorry. Oh, if there's a buzzing sound or an electrical smell when you plug in the blanket, you also don't want to use the blanket. Then you need to get rid of it. So let's see. I think I've gone through everything. I wanted to give you some alternatives because I don't want to say you can't use an electric blanket, so freeze, ha! Seniors who need an electric blanket can use thermal underwear. There are fleece vests that they can use to help keep their core temperature raised. There also are some vests that they're lined with that material that will reflect body heat and it will help to keep them warm. You can do something like just turn the electric blanket on for a little bit to warm the bed before the senior gets in. Sometimes that's helpful, but they really should turn the blanket off after that. Although there are some electric blankets that have timers, so if you're a parent or you are a senior yourself and you're insisting on using an electric blanket, make sure that it's one that has a timer that will shut itself off during the night. There are also things, the standard hot water bottle that probably everybody has, or they have those, the microwavable with beans or whatever in it that you can heat up and that will keep you warm too. It initially warms the bed up. So those are some choices. There even are some things, it's a mattress pad that has water flowing through it, warm water, so you're not really on the electricity. But there are some drawbacks to those as well. So we have more safety tips and more products that you might want to consider as an alternative to an electric blanket. They're on our website at seniorsafetyadvice.com. I'll also put the link to the article in the comment section below. If you like this video, please give us a thumbs up and subscribe so that you can see more of our videos as they're released and you can get all of the tips and stay safe. And also don't forget to visit us at seniorsafetyadvice.com. Thanks!